I've had to contend with this harsh thought. How important is creativity really? I've been thinking a lot about creativity lately and what it's actually worth. I'm a creatively inclined person, always have been. Almost everything I've ever done, art, videos, animation, storytelling, has come from this need to create. But lately, due to AI's immense presence, it feels like AI is holding up a mirror humanity has never had to look into before. Because creating, if we're honest, is a luxury. To create is enjoyable, it relieves stress, sometimes it makes money, though less and less plausible now. But historically speaking, living in a world where creatives could become successful purely through creative work, that's incredibly rare, almost abnormal. Being able to afford art, to hire artists, to spend time creating rather than just surviving, that only exists when society has excess, which is not inherently bad. However, if humanity ever had to focus purely on usefulness, on survival, on truly the important things, creativity would be one of the first things to become unnecessary. Or in a world where AI can do the frou-frou creative work for us, we become unnecessary. And that's the uncomfortable part. Many creatives reject AI right now. I too often fall in this camp. We say things along the lines of, creation should belong to people, to those with the urge to create through years of practice, through skills earned slowly over time. And yes, that may be true. But AI is not going anywhere, let's be fair. A year or two ago, AI struggled with things it now does effortlessly. In a tiny window, it went from hopelessly bad to so damn good it's terrifying. And whether we like it or not, it's becoming embedded in everyday life, because efficiency always wins. Throughout history, those with power and wealth have used creatives to produce things for them. From advertisements, entertainment, imagery, music, creatives are the unsung heroes that have made our world less ugly throughout history. AI simply becomes the cheapest, fastest version of that system. From marketing visuals, to game assets, to music that already sounds surprisingly convincing. I can still pick out AI art or even AI music for that matter. It's still easy enough to pick out the sort of artificial look and feel, as it were. But it didn't take long to get to this point where it's already fooling the average person. Not much longer now, and it will be indistinguishable. Guaranteed. Right now, we reject AI, and we likely will for a while longer still. However, people follow patterns, predictable ones. We resist new things at first. We push back. We argue about authenticity, fairness, meaning. And then, slowly, the unfamiliar becomes the norm. Not because everyone agreed with it, but because time moved forward anyway. And when something is the norm, the idea of rejecting that norm becomes the more strange behavior. Each new generation doesn't inherit our resistance, our viewpoints, let alone our understandings. They inherit the world as it already exists. To them, it's not some intrusion, it's not an interloper to be cast out, it's just how things are. I already see it happening. I've had youngsters join my live streams asking for feedback on music they've made, and the song is generated through AI tools like Suno. I could hear it immediately, and when I asked them, they said yes, it was. A prompt typed in, a song produced instantly. They don't see the same boundary older creatives see. They see a tool, a starting point, something normal. Even when faced with criticism or rejection, they continue using it, not rebelliously, but naturally. Because for them, this is creation now, and that's the part many of us struggle to accept. This won't remain a debate forever. This will become the norm. Not suddenly, but gradually, quietly, until one day the argument feels outdated. And maybe that's where a quieter consequence begins to appear. Whether we like it or not, AI is here, and younger creators are growing up with it as a normal part of their world. But I can't help wondering if something gets lost along the way. See, we already live in a world chasing the easy path. Constant scrolling, endless content, instant gratification. And now creation itself can become instant too. You type in a prompt, something appears, and it feels like you created it. But creating has never just been about the result. To create is to struggle, the process, the frustration, the trial and error, the slow improvement. That's where the meaning lives. Most of my joy in creating has never been the finished work, it's been the making of it. Because fulfillment doesn't come from having something exist, It comes from overcoming the difficulty required to bring it into existence. And I wonder, if that struggle disappears, does the fulfillment disappear with it? Question. If AI is used to create the small things, the invisible things, does it really matter all that much? The background assets nobody consciously looks at, tiny pieces of interface design, minor visual elements that only exist to serve a function. The parts of creative work most people never notice unless they're missing. If those are generated by AI rather than by a person, which is already happening, is something meaningful actually lost? I don't ask that as approval, but also not as criticism. I ask it because it feels like an ethical line we haven't clearly defined yet. For years, creatives have poured effort into details most audiences never consciously see. Work that is essential, but often invisible. So if AI handles those invisible layers, is that replacement? Or is it simply automation reaching creativity the same way it reached manufacturing and the like before it? I don't know the answer. Whether I agree with it or not, it feels like a question worth asking. Because the future of creativity may not change all at once. It may change quietly, first in the places nobody notices. When creation itself changes, where do creatives stand in that world? Listen, I'm someone driven by creating. Moderate success here and there, built entirely on creative pursuits. And sometimes I do wonder, would life have been easier if I wasn't wired this way? Part of me thinks yes, absolutely. Because creating like this, deeply, obsessively, feels less like a necessity and more like a privilege. A luxury that comes with its own share of huge downsides, like the trade-off isn't worth it sometimes. I may enjoy being creative until the point where it becomes a problem. However, alongside that, I also value productivity, doing something useful, moving forward, building toward outcomes. It took me way too long to realize that. A creative mind obscured that. For the past few years, productivity and creativity have been the same thing for me. Creating has been the work, and that won't stop. I don't think I could stop even if I wanted to. But it does make me wonder. If creativity is ultimately just self-expression, if its importance exists mostly on a personal level rather than a necessary one, then what does that say about someone like me, for folks that are a working irony? I'm a very logic-driven person, very no-nonsense. That's partly how my Asperger's syndrome shapes the way I see the world, which makes the contrast strange, being deeply creative while also craving order, efficiency, and clear outcomes. Sometimes I catch myself fantasizing about being purely logical, almost machine-like. A being that simply evaluates problems and chooses the most efficient solution every time. Because life is chaos. It is confusing. People are confusing. Chaotic, emotional, inconsistent. Short-sighted one moment, deeply passionate the next. And the older I get, the more distance I sometimes feel from that chaos. The more I watch silently and evaluate, like this, pondering the true necessity of creating and its disorder. However, the uncomfortable truth is, I'm not separate from it. To my detriment, creativity has its grip on me precisely because I'm human. The uncertainty, the obsession, the emotional swings, the very things I try to analyze or distance myself from, are the same things that make creation possible. Some might even say, its point. This chaos I struggle to understand is the same chaos that makes me just like everyone else. It's the unknowing that makes creating as unpredictably magical as it is. But is magic really all that important? We say creativity is human expression, and that's true. But what happens when machines can replicate expression convincingly enough that most people stop caring where it came from? People like beautiful things, good music, interesting visuals, and AI is already producing things that look and sound impressive, sometimes indistinguishable. See, creatives burn out. We lose inspiration, we struggle, we're inconsistent and often unreliable. The starving artist is not a myth. AI doesn't burn out. It doesn't doubt itself. It doesn't need rest. It produces endlessly without us. And yes, AI does learn from existing artists, and that makes many of us uncomfortable. But if we're honest, artists have always learned by absorbing and reshaping what came before them. Inspiration, adapting. I do that till this day. The difference now is scale and speed, and the fact that it's not a person taking inspiration, it's something far better at it. See, I'm a creative. I used to be an intensely emotional person, easily excited, easily frustrated, constantly chasing ideas. Now I feel quieter, more withdrawn, more observant. I still create, I still enjoy it, but I've started to see creativity differently. Not as something the world owes value to, but as something I was fortunate enough to experience value from. Because maybe creativity was never guaranteed to be important, maybe it was simply important to us. And maybe we're living through the moment where creativity stops being a human necessity and becomes something personal again, a craft we tinker with for our personal joy and benefit, while AI becomes the world's primary creator whether we like it or not. And to prove it, half the music in this video was AI generated. I didn't create them, I just found them, stock images and music. More and more AI is removing the need to create by creatives. And besides you and I, many won't even notice. The world keeps moving on, whether you like it or not.